Hey everyone, good to have you with us. Will in studio. Will, hello.
Hi Joe.
Fresh from recording the left wing this morning. And Conan is here.
Hello Joe.
What's happening? Indo Sport Podcast at independent.ie is where you can get on to us. Still a touch of afterglow after the Rory thing. By day 4 I think we'll really have dragged the arse out of angles on Rory, you know. There'll be what green attire is in this summer, you know. we've got to that point. But
you put the challenge out there. What are you going to talk about next year? We are going to rise to that challenge now.
Yeah. So a couple of things going on elsewhere. The Hurling Championship is upon us. I know this golf thing's been nice. You know, it's been fine. But like the world's greatest sport is about to be unfurled here. So a bit of respect. So with that in mind, tomorrow we are doing a championship preview with the 3 rock stars of hurling podcasting, if you ask me. Michael Verney, John Milan, Eddie Brennan. But that's not enough. I said if these 3 are going to, you know, kick ahead to the summer, we need to do it in person. So tomorrow morning I'll be driving down to Langton's in Kilkenny. There's been talk in the WhatsApp group of a steak breakfast and the 4 of us, but really the 3 of them. I mean, I'll be very much Ross Geller looking on. They are going to preview the Hurling Championship and God knows where we'll go. So that's to look forward to, and we'll get it up in your feed ASAP tomorrow afternoon. So Verney, Milan, Brennan, talking hurling as the Hurling Championship starts, as the world should be. Already the WhatsApp group has been feel good, I would say. Oh yeah. We only set it up last week and it's my favourite WhatsApp group in my life right now.
Within 5 seconds, there was 50 messages.
Oh dear. I'll read some messages from the WhatsApp group to them tomorrow. There's Milan regretting never having been locked up in jail was a high point for me. By the way, just to mention, given it's Easter week, a rising from the dead. Brian Lohan last month said that Shane O'Donnell was out for the season, hurler of the year, out for the season. You know, kind of further dented the sense that Clare could retain the All-Ireland. And Shane O'Donnell was doing media yesterday and he said between 4 and 8 weeks and he hopes for a return. He was told by a specialist if he wanted to hurl for Clare this season, then he would have to have surgery. And so he said, cut me open. And so he's hoping to get back 4 to 8 weeks. Slightly vague, but major boost for Clare. Elsewhere this week, we will have Ken Doherty on the show. It's Crucible time. Again, Snooker, this is our time too. So we'll talk to Ken and this week and put it out on the Friday. It's Good Friday, so that can be your treat. He's still very much trying to compete and trying to qualify, we should say.
Yeah, he lost the weekend, so he won't be in this year's tournament. But yeah, he gave it a bash. Still going strong.
Yeah, we'll have Bits and Bobs Thursday, some Champions League talk, the great Villa comeback imminent, and Conor McKeown home from Augusta. He has seen some things. Also should mention League of Ireland last night. Rovers beat Cork City 4-1. That's a 5th win in 6 games for Shamrock Rovers. In front of Hamer Hallgrimsson. So Stephen Bradley said, I think it's important for the national team manager to take in league games. I do think it's important he was here and that they show an interest in the league and go to games. So Hamer, I think, has made a real effort to repair relations with the League of Ireland managers. I don't think he's led the fight or started it overly. I know they think he did, but in fairness to him, he's not just saying, who are these pixies having a go at me in the Irish media all the time? I ignore all them. Instead, he's kind of gone the opposite way and tried to repair any damage.
I feel like he should. I'm surprised. He's kowtowing too much to this narrative. I think he should have fought back a bit more and said, I didn't really say what you alleged I said. I actually said it, made a kind of a much softer point and F off.
Well, regardless, he's been the bigger man than Will would have been.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he's thinking, Monday night, I'm not doing anything. I saw Dan was at the game and he said that he wasn't flanked by any FAI executives or anything. He was just very much a man of the people.
Man of the people. Back home to look at teeth the next morning, presumably.
Beaten pulse of Ireland.
Interesting, on Friday we should flag Drogheda. Will they stay the course is probably the question. They're top of the table, but it is now Rovers and Pats, joint second, level on points, playing each other at Richmond Park. So that will be one, I think, to keep an eye on. And then one more thing to mention. The RFU news today. David Humphreys has been very proactive in making decisions about Irish rugby. So as of next season, August 26, provinces, for their centrally contracted players, will have to pay 40% of those wages. This is up from 30%. And if you're wondering what the RFU are going to do with that money, Humphreys was, completely emphatically clear. Quote, this money will be ring-fenced into funding initiatives in Connacht, Munster and Ulster. So it's basically trying to get the other three up to speed. Joe McCarthy, the latest Leinster player to be directly contracted. So 11 Leinster players at the moment. And then the only other three are Tadhg in Munster, Bundy Aki and Matt Hansen Connacht on national deals. Ulster, no centrally contracted player as of next season. I think this is the right thing to do. It's still a great deal. Your 11 most expensive employees will still pay 60% of their wages.
Yeah, and I think the ballpark people say is it's average 300 grand per contract. So that you're looking at 1.3 million a year that Leinster now have to fork out. You know, that the other provinces maybe can share. That sounds like a good bit of money to put into pathways. It's not necessarily to pay a marquee sign to bring in, but it's actually to make it robust ways of bringing in more players. That does sound like a good compromise. Because of the system of like the more players you get on the central contracts, the more money you have to buy other players didn't seem equitable given where the other provinces are at. So this seems like a good compromise.
Yeah. There are a lot of emails in indosportpodcast@independent.ie. They're literally all about Rory. That's not a single one to do with anything else. And the interest and I think the extent to which the drama has grabbed people is extraordinary. So Harrington yesterday is going to be our most listened to episode comfortably. Like within 20, it just exploded, you know.
Might be already.
So that's it just grabbed people for various reasons. No particular order. Hugh, I love that Hugh emailed this. There's no point here. Dear lads, just incredible. 11 years since he won a major, 14 since his collapse at the Masters, 4 second finishes. Please welcome Mr. Grand Slam, Rory McIlroy.
You were looking for an attachment? Where's Rory here?
It's just, this isn't like a public statement.
That's like what the chairman said at the press conference.
Yeah. Just privately emailing this to us. Now, he does say roll on Quail Hollow, which is a fair point. I mean, this is the thing. I saw even Greg Allen saying this. And, so like Rory's like, God, it's only been 24 hours and we're on to this. So Allen was saying what a few people think, the calendar Grand Slam could be on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Take a bit of pressure off this man for once.
The reason being, the PGA is at Quail Hollow, one of his favourite courses. He is prolific there. He has won several PGA Tour events there. He is generally always good there. So
that's in the bag.
This is built for him, and he's in good form.
That's 2 for 2.
Tick. Portrush.
Oh,
this year of unfinished business, Conan.
yeah, he missed a cut in 2019, but we know he's got the course record there. So tick.
As a 16-year-old, or as a 14-year-old, 16 or 14. Anyway, Portrush, unfinished business, and in a very, very different place to 2019. 2019, there was a lot of fragility about Rory's game. And then Oakmont, where Dustin Johnson pipped Shane Lowry back in 2016.
Oh, revenge?
Well, this is not for Lowry. We're staying on McIlroy here.
Yeah, for Irish revenge.
Sorry. Rory has turned himself into a serious US Open player now. He said a couple of years ago he realised he was picking courses in the PGA Tour which were a little too generous, too easy. And so he started picking tougher courses in a bid to get US Open ready. And Oakmont is a bomber's paradise too. You got to hit the ball a long way. There's a reason Dustin Johnson won. So you kind of look at all that and you say, it's not a big chance because it's just, the favourite wins less than 12, 13% of the time in a tournament. It's not a big chance. However,
3 for 3 is possible.
It's his best chance. It's the best chance he'll ever have of it. It's still a small chance, but it's his best chance.
The unfortunate thing with the Masters being first, isn't it? It's like, every time he wins it, but whenever he does win it, if he does win it again, it's going to be, okay, the calendar Grand Slam's on.
Yeah.
We're going to find a reason.
But that'd happen after whichever major was first.
Yeah.
There's very few people who've won the first two even. Like Spieth did it in 2015 and was actually only one shot out of a playoff at the Open. He was actually, and then he came second at the PGA. Like Spieth in 2015 actually was pretty close to doing the calendar Grand Slam, but I think Woods maybe won a Masters in the US Open once and then had a very poor Saturday 2002 maybe at the Open and kind of flamed out, but it's very rare. So even getting 2 out of 2 would be
insane.
If it's 2 out of 2 going to Portrush, oh my lord, the hype.
Stop. Although Portrush would be last, so it'd have to be 3 out of 3. They've moved.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, Oakmont would be first. Then
PGA.
Well, if it's 3 out of 3 going to Portrush.
God.
PGA.
Got goosebumps.
What?
He could be completing the
Jesus.
the Grand Slam.
At Portrush, yeah, okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, but I mean, come on.
But on a serious point, Joe, are you of the opinion that people have posited that winning this Masters will free him up to win multiple more majors? Will it should we expect, considering it took him 11 years, are we going to be waiting another 10 for another one? Or do you think this should mean he kind of has a few in the near future?
It's obviously very tempting to say it should. But if you'd said to everyone in 2014, it'll be 11 years, that wouldn't have made sense when he had just won 4 and 3. So, yeah, in theory it should. We've a few emails in about that. Let me keep going here. Damien O'Brien replied to his own email to us from November, where back in November he said, keeping this short, Rory's definitely going to win the Masters next year.
Wow, fair play.
Yeah. He's subsequently emailed in yesterday to say, why did I not put a bet on it?
But he has the receipt. That's good enough.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah.
You can all do that. Love this from Paul. Paul Q, I won't give your full name. This was sent yesterday morning, Monday morning, 11:45 a.m. I'm not well. I stayed up watching Rory last night. Just now, my wife's gone into labour with our first child.
The next morning?
Just now. I don't know what time. This is 11:45 Monday morning.
Oh my God.
a.m.
Oh, God.
Yeah. He then says, I'm not sure which is more dramatic. I just hope my wife is a bit more steady than Rory because quite honestly, my stress is not going to handle a repeat. Cheers, PQ. Paul.
Call the child Rory, Paul.
Oh.
It works for a boy or a girl.
Rory. Let us know how things went, Paul. This is kind of just, one of the great aspects of these kind of sporting moments is where were you when you watched it? Everybody coming together. And there's a touch of that here in Ronan Califf's email. So he's over in New Zealand. He said, got out of bed 8 a.m. Monday morning to watch the back nine. Isn't it strange where you are in the world dictates your experience of these events?
Monday morning watching the back line sounds very strange.
It's gross.
Yeah.
I mean, I presume you just ring your boss and say, well, obviously I'm not coming in this morning. That you can't make people work Monday morning in New Zealand, Masters Monday. So he says, it never disappoints. WhatsApp message my family, McIlroy looking good as he was 4 shots ahead with 8 holes to play. Wrong. My father responded, hard to see him losing it from here, which I knew meant there was a chance he would go to bed soon. As McIlroy missed the putt on the last to win and we were heading to a playoff, I knew my father had gone to bed because there had been no WhatsApp traffic since McIlroy's 11th hole. It was time to call my mother, who was still watching, to ensure she got my father out of bed for the playoff and to allow us fill him in on what had happened to McIlroy, which he duly could not believe.
Wake up has happened again.
Anyway, he got up to watch the golf and we had a quick call, including my brother, to share and digest the moment after Rory sealed it and showed such emotion afterwards. To borrow and rephrase a quote from the film Moneyball, how can you not be romantic about golf? Ronan says, Louth also beat Laois in Leinster, so a good day all round. Isn't that a nice thing?
That's a great email.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, last one. Second last one. This is a nice one from Dara. It was a strong first sentence. Okay? It's a strong sentence. Hi, Joe. I sit here waiting to catch my flight back to Dublin from Augusta.
Oh, yes.
You know? I'll read the second sentence. I'm reminded of the email you received after the Super Bowl from the group of Offaly lads who had their bucket list experience, and I think I've just had the golfing equivalent. Going to the Masters has always been top of my bucket list. This time last year, I realised that the window of opportunity to go was narrowing. I'm now at an age where my group of friends are getting married, having kids, etc. So the wheels were set in motion. I got one of the lads, just one of the lads to come on board. We booked through a golf travel group and the package we got was a round at TPC Sawgrass and then Saturday tickets at Augusta. God, that is nice. That was not cheap. Fast forward to last Tuesday, we flew to Florida. We played Sawgrass on Wednesday. I had never seen a place so immaculate, in brackets, prior to Saturday. We played in perfect conditions with a caddy, getting to feel like a pro. Holes 16 to 18 left me in awe. A truly incredible experience. Sawgrass is the hole, the
island green.
Yeah. You know that island green over the water? Very famous.
Not for me.
Then Saturday came. We arrived to Augusta at 6 a.m. We were one of the first people in when the gates opened at 7. We walked in and the first thing we saw was the 16th green. It didn't feel real. It was genuinely breathtaking. We walked the back 9 while it was still quiet. Fucking hell. There's like a tear in my eye here.
So vivid.
Imagine doing that with your friend. Hardly a word was said.
Oh my God.
It's a wordsmith. What's his name? Dara.
Dara, you're making me feel things.
I can see the two of them just walking, not saying it. They don't need to say anything.
Isn't this beautiful? Hardly a word was said beyond the odd wow or a subtle nod to each other.
We did it.
This is award-winning. And then possibly the best breakfast I've ever had. Not for the food, but the location. We went and sat at the 12th tee for half an hour eating our food. That's when we looked at each other and laughed.
That's great.
We knew it didn't get any better than this, but then the golf started and the day flew in. We are huge Rory fans, and to be able to witness the Eagles on 2 and 15 with our own eyes was spine-tingling. Outside of the golf, there's so much about the place that's unique. Obviously, the no phones is huge, the famous food. I had 8 sandwiches, the merch store, the general aura and the manual scoreboards being the only way to find out what's going on around the course. It was all incredible. After the golf finished, as the place emptied out, we took one last trip around Amen Corner. They went back! Yeah. It wasn't enough to do it in the morning together. They went back for sunset together. We stood at 12. There was nobody else around. We took it in one last time. We said leaving, no matter what happens on Sunday, we will always have this Saturday. Life has peaked. By far the best day of my life.
Ah, stop.
I'm sure my friend agrees, and he got married before Christmas. Apologies for the length of the email, but I'm leaving here in a high. See, he's still at the airport, fellas. That's what you have to understand about this email.
Great.
He's waiting to come back home, and he's typing this to us.
So has Rory not won at this stage when he typed that, I wonder?
I would say...
It's not referred to. So
I'd say they stayed.
so he didn't know. So this was, he'd already had the experience was so...
Oh, no. He got it. Sorry. Yeah, it was a good question. Apologies for the length of the email, but I'm leaving here in a high. We will all remember this Masters for the rest of our lives, given the Sunday drama.
Yeah.
The best week of my life, and in sporting terms, I don't see it ever being topped. On a side note, we've been to 2 majors in our lives, Portrush 2019 and Augusta 2025. We may have to go more. Regards, Darren.
Oh my God.
That's living.
That is just great.
Yeah. See, I live my life like Dara in theory, but not in practice. You know, he recognised the window's tightening here. Life is short. Anything could happen. Let's just go and do it. Yeah. In theory, I'm with him. In practice.
40th, the big 40th trip. That should have been Augusta.
Yeah, it's a big talking point at home. What do you want? My latest answer is I think I'm just going to let it slide by.
Oh, God.
See, in theory, I'm living.
When's your birthday?
May. In theory, I'm sucking the juice out of life. In practice, I live a very dull, repetitive existence. Genuinely.
So you're being offered a 40th birthday.
What do you want? Anything.
Bonanza.
And I'm like, no, don't go on intro. Don't do anything. No. There's probably a lack of self-love going on here.
There is, yeah.
You know? I don't deserve it. It's hard to...
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
Poor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it?
You're 40th. Like,
I know.
Augusta would have been a good one. I actually hadn't... it was probably too late.
Do you feel uncomfortable making a big thing for you on your birthday, and then you're bringing other people with you?
Yeah, all of that.
Part of it. People want to go, and people want the excuse to go with you. They want to say to you that their spouse, like, I could do without this, but you want me.
When I was 30, there's like these little boats up at the IFSC neck of Dublin. You can rent them out for a party. And at 30, I did it, big party, everyone came. And now 10 years on, my attitude to that is, no, Jesus, I wouldn't.
Bigger boat.
I don't want to. I don't want to drag people out. I don't want to annoy them. Leave them.
Might have all their ideas.
Yeah, they're tired. Won't do it. There was one last one. Then I hope I get to send this in time for the inevitable Roy pod today. That was yesterday. Incredible day of achievement. But after the excitement finally settled down, I got a feeling of sadness for what now feels like a missed decade of Rory's career. Now that he's won another major, it puts into perspective what a career he could have had if he had shed this weight earlier in his career. He could have won he could still win 3 or 4 more and probably will get a few. But if he'd won the Masters in 16-17, he could have had a crack at double digits. I think 10 plus majors is out of reach given his age. I hope I'm wrong. Just wondering, anyone else feel this sentiment? Strange to feel after such an incredible sporting moment. Best of my life, says Ed. It's hard to know. Like in a perfect world, yes. If everything was linear, yes. It's not a lost decade. 15 to 21, they were bad years. They were frustrating years. They were years where I was looking at him and thinking, oh to give this guy a shake, you know. Putting for a couple of those years, wedges for a couple of those years, and mentality for a couple of those years. Was he, you know, just, yeah, I'm with you. But to be fair, and he said himself from 20 into 21, he just resolved to do better at majors. I mentioned how he's got himself US Open ready, working with Faxon, really digging into the Rotello stuff. And he's put himself in the mix these last couple of years. I think, you know, the misses at Pinehurst and St Andrews and LACC in the US Open, for me, that's like admirable. I mean, painful, and he could have another 3, but admirable. The few years before that, I'm with you. But like everyone, that is the reality of sport. Like, it's impossible to conceive in 2008 when Woods won his 14th that he wouldn't win another one until 2019. You know, It's just so difficult and unpredictable, and you have ups and downs in your life on and off the course. He's 35 now. He has 10 more hyper competitive years. That is 40 majors, 40 chances. If he got to 10, that would be mind blowing. So he's then only the 3rd to get to double figures, I think.
4th.
Who's the other?
Walter Hagen.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't sleep on old Walter.
Okay, sorry, Walter.
He's been dead for like 70 years.
Yeah. It was a very different world then. But if he got to 10, well, that blow my mind. So that would be, to follow the maths, 40 chances, again, injury, unforeseen events, dear boy. That would mean he would have to win at a rate of 1 major every 8.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
In terms of potential, though, and talent, and I know you can't just take away those years, but if you were in 2014 and I said it's going to stop at 10, would you think?
I would have said that was
low,
good,
even with the 3 in the bag.
Yeah. It's so hard, and you've Woods knocking around, you've great players knocking around. Look, maybe the night he won in 2014, I was there at the Open. That wasn't his last. The last was Valhalla. I was at the Open. Yeah, okay. The night of Valhalla, I would have said, hey, he's going to win 20. But, you know, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And when you saw what had happened to Woods, 10 would just be so remarkable.
Yeah.
And he always sort of talked to himself about becoming the greatest European. That's Faldo on 6.
Yeah.
Like if he gets to 7, he has the same career as Arnold Palmer, and he has the Grand Slam, which Palmer doesn't have.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good innings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were discussing, I asked you yesterday about Arnold Palmer, say Tom Watson, guys who have more majors than Roy, but don't have the career Grand Slam. Like Watson has 5 Opens, 2 Masters, a US Open. I think Palmer has 4 Masters, 2 Opens, and a US Open, but neither of them the PGA. But like, what's a better kind of, what CV is better, like having the Grand Slam but with 5, or having more of the kind of the marquee ones without the PGA with 8 or 7?
What did you say Watson has? 8?
Yeah, 5 Opens, 2 Masters, and a US Open.
5 majors with the Grand Slam, or 8 without.
And I'm missing the PGA, which is by a distance the least the least prestigious. It's kind of just a barstool
That's
argument.
a tough one. Yeah. That's where you're starting to get, oof.
Yeah.
Because like Brooks Koepka could turn around and say, I have the same amount of majors as Rory.
Yeah.
Why is, like, obviously he hasn't won the Masters of the Open, which are significant, but he might be like, is there really that, should it be weighted like that? Maybe it should.
No, I think you're right.
Paul McGinney made a good argument saying it because each major tests you in specific ways.
Yeah.
So to have the rounded skill set to win them all. But it's just interesting that it is the be all and end all. Whereas, like, if you have a few more majors, is that technically better? I don't know.
I think it's become a thing because we've started to realise the number of people who've done it is so small.
Yeah.
It's almost elevated it.
Yeah.
I agree with you in a way. Like, I could see Brooks at home going, sorry, why is he an all-time legend now and I'm
just Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sure, like Walter Higgins got more than 10, but he didn't win the Grand Slam either, so we don't talk about him the same way.
For most of his success came before the Masters started, so like...
Yeah. Walter didn't really have a
Walter's
great chance
best
there.
days kind of predated the Masters, but he was of his day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think if Brooks Koepka thought that, I would think that's reasonable. But the fact that so few have managed the 6, the fact that there's now like a pressure like you wouldn't believe on Koepka when he tries to do it, or Scheffler when he tries to do it, or Spieth couldn't get it done, would suggest there is a psychological component to it which makes it super impressive. Like I don't think it's that Brooks doesn't have the game to win it.
Yeah.
The 4 challenges that are asked. I think it's more of a psychological thing increasingly.
But do you think for Rory the psychological baggage this weekend was the career Grand Slam, Or was it more the major drought? Because I think initially, definitely, it was the career Grand Slam when he was going for it. But I think by now, because like you saw the US Open in Pinehurst, him tightening up. Like for me, I thought it was more the major drought almost hanging over him that was causing.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, do you think it was always the career Grand Slam still?
I actually think it was Masters and career Grand Slam tied. I think if he'd been in at the turn and 4 shots clear at any of the other 3 majors,
He would have coasted.
give or take. Yeah. Give or take. Now, maybe a wobble because the major drought is real. Like, you're right about the major drought. Maybe a wobble. But I think in those circumstances, 4 clear at the turn, I think he coasts home okay. Maybe a bogey, a little bit tight the last 2 or 3, looking over at Harry in the 18th. She's okay, let's just bump it up here and make a little bogey. That kind of a finish, maybe. I'd say, like, the Masters is just so big. It is absolutely the one that is the best to win. I know this part of the world, they talk about the Open, but the way they treat their former champions, they all know, God, I get to come back here every year forever. The Champions Dinner, the Green Jacket, it's the most watched tournament, the folklore, the tradition. And McIlroy would talk routinely about Woods' 97 at the Masters. Of course, he watched the Open as well, but when he talks about like the core memory of watching golf as a kid, it's the Masters and the, you know, sitting down with his dad in April and that blast of Technicolor, and that kind of, that gets into your skin, I think. And then it's, you know, the course is so beautiful and everything in reality. I just think it's all of that. So I'd say Masters and career Grand Slam. Like, it was such a meltdown. You know, you just can't overstate. I remember thinking as he did what he did on 13, and then it gets sketchy and he's in the playoff with Rose. And I remember thinking, like, that is going to be, and maybe they put on 18 as well, but more so 13th. That is going to be the most famous shot of his career, and not in a good way. That'll be on every montage that they show of the Masters for decades to come. It just would have been so awful, you know? Like, the line here between your legacy is secure, it's a happy ending, all is good, and everything your worst, most vindictive critics have said about you is completely true is so thin.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
And he walked that line all day. That's why, like, the first hole, double bogey, you know, and then he gets back into it, ball in the water 13. Then he gets back into it again with some amazing shots. Misses that short put on 18, which wasn't really even that close. And that's the one I think would have been replayed, because it was a very short put. As bad as he had played in the back 9, he still got down to, what was it, a 5-foot put to win the Masters.
Yeah.
And
it's with Greg Norman, who did a similar thing. They always show his shot flaring out to the right. But I don't think his putt was as close that he missed as the one McIlroy missed. All right, yeah. Yeah, the putt was bad.
Like, very few players have had putts as short to win a major and missed.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that stick out, like Scott Hoke against Nick Faldo, like Doug Sanders against Jack Nicklaus in an Open back in the day. Like, there's probably a very short list of people who've had like 5-footers or less to win a major and haven't made them, and then subsequently not won it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would have been that would have been tough.
A lot, yeah.
During this walk of the line, how are you feeling? Like, is this the sporting occasion that got you most pumped, or I don't want to say biased, but definitely most invested anyway?
But I also have this thing where, like, I really hope he did it.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's no reflection on me. I don't. I can only want him to do it so much for, like, probably closing in on a billionaire. Life is good, you know. In the grand scheme, he's having a great life, you know. So
you're not like a supporter.
I'm not. I did a few because you know there's a baby not to wake up at the moment. So I did a few on my own silent fist bumps.
Yeah,
that was, you know. At 15, I just went.
You did a Dara nod.
Yeah. I did a nod. Yeah. Pretty restrained. And I was. Do you know when I really realised, oh God, I really want him to win, was when he missed the putt on 18 and how sad he looked. And I think then I was actually, it was more, I don't want him to lose this now. Every bit as much as I want him to win, if that makes sense. I thought, that is too much. The dejection when he missed the putt almost got me more than I was excited on 15 or 17. there were fist pumps. And I was like, get in. But when I saw him miss the putt in 18, and it just hit him like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I realised then that's too sad. You know?
Yeah, because
It's too awful.
if he had lost in a similar manner to St Andrews, or say he hadn't took any risks and DeChambeau had gotten 5 or 6 birdies, and that would have been one thing. But to lose the way he had it, would have lost in a playoff after the, like that, as you say, that would have been the first thing anyone ever said about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I was really into it. I wanted him to do really well.
Yeah.
But it's also just like, you know, it's not my life. I'm buzzing away with mates on WhatsApp. I'm on Twitter. You know, it's all of these things. I don't know how to explain it really. I was definitely wanted him to do well.
Yeah, I suppose I'm wondering.
Maybe if I was watching with a gang, I might have been a bit more. You're not gonna stand up and
yeah,
dance on your own, you know.
and this is it. Like, I was very happy for him.
What do you want me to do?
I was very happy for him. I suppose I'm wondering where is the line between, like, you know, where I come in here and talk about Villa and get passionate about Marcus Rashford and DM Jack Grealish, or, you know, Derry, like, basically tattooed on my forehead. Whereas, do people have that with an individual golfer?
Oh, I think I think there's people who are completely invested. I mean, yeah, like they would be with a football team for sure. I felt very sorry for Justin Rose, actually. What a classy.
What? That was
Class act.
amazing.
I just saw the photo, by the way, you know, when Larry bear hugs McIlroy.
Yeah.
That actually Justin Rose, who has already said very good things, nice things to him on the green, I think about it, you know, being, I think he said something to the extent that, like, it's great to share you winning the Grand Slam kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But then when Larry's giving him a bear hug and there's a line of people to greet McIlroy, Justin Rose has gone and waited at that line too. And he's already done his bit on the green. He's waiting at that line. He's applauding him with his wife. Yeah. I was thinking, this is like rugby teams. Like, we've already shaken hands. Now you're clapping me off kind of thing. Such a class act, you know. Really, really good. Did you guys, so not routine golf watchers? Not
Majors, yeah, for me.
Majors, yeah. I presume that's as good as it's ever.
That was the most riveting sporting occasion I've ever watched out in any sport.
Oh, really?
Ever. Any sport. Yeah, it was just the drama from... It was 5 hours of drama. I was joking. The Rolex hour, they got bang for their buck in the opening hour, because the opening hour alone, there was like, what, 3 two-shot swings, I think?
Yeah.
In the first hour.
Yeah.
It was absolutely sensational. I actually couldn't get over how dramatic it was, because I asked you in a bits and bobs when you came back, I said, if he wins the Masters, do you think it'll be a procession, like he pulls clear, or will it be a battle? Yeah. We got it all. It was both a procession and a collapse and a dig-out battle to win, and I just found it unbelievable. And you mentioned there the WhatsApp groups hopping, like I don't think I've ever been a long time since I've felt such a, like, everyone watching it, everyone talking about it.
So communal, yeah.
Like, outside of, like, you know, Ireland at a big tournament, I don't recall, like, everyone caring or watching and being so invested in it. It was such an unbelievably compelling night of sport.
Were you here when Kevin Doyle came over yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, our colleague, obviously, Kevin Doyle. And he was like, wasn't it mad how it was like the old days of Twitter again for a few hours? Even I no interest in tweeting because it's gone a bit mad. But even
We're tweeting like mad.
I was like, I really
One
was
of your
like,
tweets was like, fuck me. Pardon my friend.
it was hard to think of something which captured things better. But yeah, it was like but everyone was sort of tweeting. It was like one for the road kind of get together.
Yeah, because one email you didn't read out that someone sent in was just basically asking, is this the biggest sporting event ever?
Yeah.
Like, was that, and obviously it depends on what part of the world you're from, and I wouldn't put it up against, I wasn't around for Italia 90, but that's obviously bigger, but it's certainly in a short list, I think, of like Rory winning the Masters, how he won it, and the drama of it. I think it's definitely on a short list of one of the great sporting events.
It has to be.
Even for the compelling nature. I'm not necessarily saying, oh, Rory's on this pedestal above another athlete or team, just the mere experience of it was so thrilling.
And it's 14 years in the making. It's a lot of groundwork has gone into that finale of near misses and trials and tribulations. And on 11, I was thinking, this is a bit anticlimactic. I don't want him to do it this way
so easily.
It doesn't feel right now that he suddenly, after 14 years of pain around here, I just won. It was pretty calm. And obviously, but it got the fitting.
It did.
Struggle. It had to be a struggle for it to feel right. I would have felt a bit cheated if, after sitting through the last 39 misses since his last major, if he had just won by 4 and barely broke sweat through Amen Corner and beyond.
Well, that was my sense of how it would happen. I didn't think he'd be able to win, and he almost didn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Honestly, and it's a conversation for another day probably. It's unfair 2 days on, but like, he's very, very lucky Bryson was all over the shop. He's really lucky, and that everybody else was so far back, because that was unconvincing in a kind of comical way. And he said himself in the press conference, I wish I'd handled it better. I didn't. You know, he's very honest like that. But I got it over the line. So, you know, I just, like, he won't get away with that at future majors. That's why I think everybody's kind of hopeful that this was the Augusta Grand Slam combo, and now the demons are
it won't
released.
feel that way in another major.
Yeah, there's a degree of, okay, I'm fine, everything else is gravy and I can play with a bit more freedom. Because he can't do that Sunday night again and expect to win.
It's funny, I just saw a tweet before I came in, like Sky had his top 5 shots, and 2 of them, you know, the one from the trees and the one on the par 5, but he missed both putts. Like, you know, as good as those 2 shots were, like wrapping that into the par 5, unbelievable shot, he missed the putt afterwards. He got a birdie, but it should have been an eagle. Like, so even some of his greatest shots, actually, he couldn't even capitalise on them.
Yeah. It was interesting, Harrington yesterday talking about how Rory can't play defensive golf.
Yeah,
you should go and listen to it yourselves if you're interested, because he explains it so well. But that might be maybe the big difference with McIlroy on Sunday and McIlroy in his golden 2-3 year spell, congressional and those type of performances is, and you'd hope it'll be the case going forward. Instead of trying to play defensive now, I think you would hope he just says, "Oh, let's put the foot down," because I'm not very good at playing defensive golf.
Yeah.
Too many thoughts, you know, and the difference in the 2 wedges on 18, same yardage. I didn't realise, I only saw Brandon Chambly saying it this morning, it's the same yardage. 125 both times.
Yeah.
And so one, he's like, oh, I need to hit the green. And then he's like, okay, I'll aim right. And then last minute, I'm going to open the club face a little bit more right because I can't go left. And suddenly he's in the bunker. Versus, for all I can see from down the bottom of this hill, Justin Rose has stitched it.
So no,
I have to make birdie. So I'm aiming at the flag, and I'm not opening the club face a touch on the way down. I'm aiming at the flag all the way through, and look what he can deliver. So I kind of, if he takes a lesson from it, I'd love in the same position next year that on 13 he's like,
I'm going for the green and 2.
Fuck this. Give me the driver. I'm not doing this in 3. Let's just keep going. I'm better when I keep going.
10 cup, give me another ball.
Well, within reason.
But that isn't the smart play.
To go for it in 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he needs to get better at being defensive.
Yeah, I know, because I take your point, like that the example of the 2 shots in 18 is a perfect example of that, but like at the same time, like it really is risky, like taking on a green in 2 and you don't need to, like, and without bringing water into play, albeit he still went in the water. So
totally. And there have been times at lesser tournaments, like a couple in the Middle East jump to mind, where he took driver on 18 when he didn't need to and he went in the water, and we're all castigating him and everybody questioning Harry Diamond and like, where's the strategy and think and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's that fine line of he starts thinking too much and he betrays that inner kind of genius that he is.
It is it's a mentality thing though, isn't it? Because the analogy you used with Harrington yesterday was great. The pull the trigger. You have to pull the trigger and let it go. You can't control it after that. And he's talked about penalty shootouts, and like that's the beauty of a penalty shootout in football, is that everybody should score, and they would score normally. But in that pressure, in that environment, you have one kick of a ball, then the nets start looking smaller, the keeper starts looking bigger, and it's the exact same with every shot in golf, and especially when it's getting into the nitty gritty. Then that's why I asked you with the playoff. The approach shot, I thought that was unbelievable. I was like, you know, was that just like a spectacular shot? And you had said that's actually pretty easy for him to do.
Yeah, easy.
You know,
that's not a hard shot for him.
In the context, it feels hard.
Context is everything, you know.
And just to Colin's point on the pressure, it's funny, like everyone's been saying, and rightly, like how McIlroy faltered on the stretch, still got the job done.
Yeah.
But like there's no golfer impervious to pressure. Like Tiger Woods' greatest Masters moment, chip in at 16 in 2005. He finished bogey and needed a playoff to beat Chris DeMarco. So people kind of have that memory that he just was always unbelievable and never faltered. But after his greatest Masters moment ever, he actually did stumble. Yeah. And like Rory, though, collected himself, had a great shot into 18, kind of similar circumstances, actually, and nailed the birdie putt to win. So even Tiger, who was an unbelievable front runner, once or twice
completely
required kind of rescuing, similar to Rory, who had to gather himself as well.
They're all chokers.
Jack Nicklaus won 18 majors, finished second 19 times.
Yeah.
What a choker.
Yeah.
Joking, obviously.
Yeah. No, but they are. They all choke. They all get tight. It's just we talk about Rory in isolation. But they all do. They all get wobbly. Remember Scotty missed like 4 putts on the 18th when he won his first Masters?
Yeah.
It was like a complete car crash.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think it's fair to say Rory is more of a choker than your average. he puts himself in a lot of positions. Therefore, he gives himself plenty of opportunities to quote unquote choke. But no, on Sunday, yeah, he wobbled. Sunday, it was mad. It was just mad. God, you can't wait for him in 6 months to chat through it all in a really deep way and make sense of it all. Because there's so many questions about what was going on and what was said and when was it said and what did Harry think and what did you think? Because he said in the press conference that even the double bogey on the first and then his second shot he said the double bogey on the first settled him right down. Now, we would have all thought you were being scrambled, but it was almost as great. Well, the worst has happened.
I'm at home.
And then the shot which really calmed him down. The most important shot, he said, was on the third hole when he set himself up for a birdie with the second, the chip shot. So he, kind of feeling good for a lot of it. Yeah.
Like, does all the talk with Bob Rotello's work, was that good work on like, do you give him credit for like overcoming all the mistakes, or are you like, why did you make them in the first place? Like, where's the mental strength there? Is it like in coming back and finally
both?
Yeah,
I think it'd be an interesting debrief.
Yeah, I heard
Bob
afterwards
sit down with Bob and
we couldn't say it went brilliantly.
he said afterwards, like, the main thing we worked on was staying in the bubble, creating your own world. Like, he did not stay in his own bubble. Like, he was fully aware of what was going on around him.
But it's too much.
I know.
On the 18th tee when he was waiting, because Rose was ahead in regulation, and it just came up par for a Grand Slam. That's when I thought, oh no, that is a lot. That's too much.
Too much, yeah.
It is. So no bubble, I think, can be impervious.
Unpenetrable, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the shame though about one of the emails there? It was just immediately. I think it was sent. They wanted it in before Monday's show. It was like, but should Rory win more? And I might even ask him, would it be a shame if he only finished on 10? And immediately we're talking about calendar Grand Slams. Like, take a leaf out of Dara and his buddies' book. Like, we just don't stop and just enjoy it. Like, one day later, it's like, well, what's he going to do next?
Well, that is the peak. Yeah. That is it. It doesn't matter if he wins. Okay, the calendar Grand Slam at Portrush, I grant you. Okay, but once this year's out of the way, that's it.
What if he fails to win? What if he wins 3 in a row and at Portrush it doesn't get the job done?
Jesus, Colin.
Are we having the same conversation?
You just said just live in the moment.
Yeah,
like,
10 seconds ago.
10 seconds
I'm not in a bubble. I need Rotello's work.
You need Bob Rotello.
Yeah.
That was it last night or Sunday night. It doesn't matter if he wins 3 Masters in a row. It won't ever. That is it. Like, it was beautiful. Doesn't matter what he does after this. Nothing ever is better than that moment. He can't have a 14-year build up to the career Grand Slam and the back nine that was the back nine. That was it. And that's fitting. That's fine. So whether he now wins 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it feel big. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whether he gets to 7, 6 or stays in 5, he's kind of remembered the same, I think. Mostly, it's not legacy changing. I don't think so. That was it last night, Sunday night. I feel like I haven't slept.
No, it is.
It's as good as it gets.
It does put a cap on it, because even before Sunday, I always thought it was funny that somebody so successful, and we're not going to get into this argument, but probably the island's most successful person, definitely consistently over a certain amount of years, is so laughed at sometimes, or scoffed at, or talked about in those terms of being a choker and not being successful. Yeah. And when 13 happened, I started having those conversations, trying to rewrite the narrative, and like, this is stupid, people are going to criticise him, but he's so successful. But he got the job done, which made it even more impressive then.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other business?
It's pretty much just your 40th birthday now, really.
No.
Is it just a Portrush? Is it a late trip up the Portrush? Could you get on board with that, bringing people up for
It'd be a bit underwhelming, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
You could go yourself. Like, I feel like if something you could just do yourself on a whim, I don't think.
Portrush is a great spot.
No.
Lots of little houses you could book out for yourself. No. 2 beaches, a South Beach and a North Beach.
Lads, they've 2 beaches. I'm not sure. What are our final thoughts then? So
we'll be talking about that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
That will be one of, like, when I'm 80, I'll still be like, the time Rory won the Masters was the most epic sporting
And they'll be like, Grandad, shut up. And you're like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah. Well, all you'd have to do is show them the 6-minute clip from when he putted it, because I actually thought that was even more compelling than all the 4 hours of drama.
Celebrations, beautiful.
And the crowd, like, geez, they talk about really like buying into it, and I think the no phone policy is such a great thing. Like,
Isn't it just?
McIlroy did say that everyone was just present, and they were really like it was fitting. The atmosphere was fitting of what he had just done.
Yeah.
And it was just walking up. It was like a movie, walking up through all these cheers and roars and Rory and
The camera work now is very good, isn't it? And they slightly blur the background.
yeah.
It looks cinematic. Like
It looked like a
cinematic.
dream.
yeah.
Like it looked like everything.
But even Premier League goal celebrations are at that.
yeah. Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
But like if you were a child dreaming of what it would be like to win, like that's the sort of thing that you come up with in your head, and you think when you get older it'll never be that good.
Yeah.
That was even more than that.
I said it yesterday. He was kind of, he couldn't get his breath. He
Oh
was
my
just
god!
so
Everywhere he looked.
overwhelmed. And like, Lowry's so forgotten, but on Saturday it was like a 1-2. There's no Tom McKibben. Maybe he'll surprise us all and do amazing things. He's an extraordinary player, but like this is, again, in the way that Sunday was it. This is it for. You're not going to have a stretch from 07 Harrington to 25. What we've
You don't
just
think so?
witnessed. No chance.
Do you not think this will, because golf's already so popular and the amount of golf courses in Ireland, like, means it does punch above its weight. But do you not think this will now inspire people to like, get my child down to that golf club?
No, but I think we've won 17% of majors or something in
Yeah,
that spell.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Then.
No. So, yeah, that was just the peak. Really amazing.
Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah.
Just to answer Rory's initial question when he went in as a victorious Masters champion. Come Masters 26, what will be the big talking point?
I know. It's a really good question.
Can he back it up?
I feel like it still will be Rory related. It'll be, can he go back to back?
It still will, but it'll all just lack the intensity. It was a great line, and there was a big laugh in the press conference because they knew he's absolutely correct here. This guy's been putting my kids through college the last 14 years, and definitely some of the juice is gone. I don't know how it'll be framed now, because that is always how it's been framed. That's how most of the early season tournaments are framed. Every time he plays, every question he's asked, how will you prepare this time for Augusta? Like, will you take up juggling this time? It's all this kind of stuff. It will lose a huge amount of impetus. Scotty's not as interesting. And for all the will in the world and all the way, people say, no, he's a phenomenal golfer. He is interesting. He's more interesting than you think. He is a bit more interesting than people think, but he's still not box office.
Butler Cabin. The charisma deficit in Butler Cabin between the two lads sitting beside each other was palpable.
He did his best to suck all the emotion out of the room, Scotty. It was one of the least generous performances I've ever seen.
But he didn't smile.
Yeah, I know. It's
Jordan Spieth was worse with was it Danny Willett?
But he had collapsed. Like he had had a quintuple bogey or something.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a bit like, because they know each other.
Yeah.
He was quite ungracious.
A little, ungracious, strong. Maybe he's just so disappointed in how he played. But no, you're right. It was. Like, just say, well done, amazing, so well played, so happy for you. It was just like, who died?
So is the magic, like that magic that you can't even quantify, is that lost now forever? Like the going into a tournament?
The Rory build-up.
Mayo winning All Ireland is the equivalent of
Touchwood, we'll still have Dermot Leese in here next year talking about why the Masters is great. We'll still have all of that. But yeah, that thing, the tournament has been hung on Rory since Woods in 19. For the last 4, 5, 6 years, it's been hung on McIlroy. Completely.
Yeah.
He's the sun, everything else is orbiting around that. And now suddenly that's gone. It is Mayo winning. The worst thing that can happen to Mayo is they win the All-Ireland.
I do remember around 2017 we did a show down in Mayo, and it's so funny that like anybody you run into, they just talk about Sunday, talk about the match on Sunday, and I was like, it's never going to get better. You don't even need to talk about what sport you're talking about. It's just Sunday. Everybody's thinking about Sunday, and every January, the whole county was just, what can we do this year? Could this year be the year? Yeah, and I think that is peak. Like, it doesn't get better than that with everybody galvanised and thinking about the same thing.
Rory gone for 5 in a row.
Okay, yeah.
That'll be the story.
He's going for 5 in a row, yeah. All right. We'll draw to a close. I suspect when Conor McKeown is in on Thursday, he'll want to talk about his week. So might circle back to it if you have any thoughts. Indosport Podcast at independent.ie is where you can get us. Will, Conan, thanks very much, fellas.